everyone. I'm so excited to be here with you today. I hope that we are live and that you can hear me and you can see my shirt because I am speaking and I'm wearing it obviously in honor of the inauguration that can't come fast enough. January 20th, how many days is that? 5 days. Oh man, we can't. So let's see. What are we doing today? It's Friday, and we are talking about my 10 nonprofit digital marketing resolutions for 2021. But I want to hear from all of you. How are you? I was supposed to go live last week, and I did not go live last week for, reasons of a white supremacist violent attempted coup that kind of shook everybody to the core, not in a way that we were surprised to see it, because I've been saying this was going to happen since 2016, but in a way that I just could not believe how far it had gotten. And I think we needed time to process. We still need time to process this week. Let's be real. But I do think that I just needed a moment last Friday. I can't even remember last week, let alone, this week. So it feels like time is passing incredibly quickly, and it also feels like time is absolutely crawling. So I don't know how that is. I don't know how 2020 has managed to do that at the same time, like make it so it's 27 lifetimes, but also 5 minutes. My son celebrated his 6th birthday yesterday, and we had a really just, what can you do in the pandemic? I went and got some balloons and we had a cake, and, what can you do? All right. Hi, Katie. Hi, TJ, Northwood Farmers Club in Minnesota. Thanks for all your support of nonprofits. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you for saying that, because sometimes it's lonely. Like, I'm here in my office. I mean, it's not lonely. I don't have alone time where I'm actually alone because everybody's in the house all the time, but it can get lonely. And I am a Cancerian. I'm July 9. I'm a Cancer, so I need constant validation. So that's why. No, that's not why I do what I do. But I do appreciate you saying thank you. And I do appreciate everyone coming. Oh, hi, Melissa. Yay. All right. So I would love to hear, well, a lot of you have said where you are, where you're from, St. Joseph Academy in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I love it. I did a fantastic free webinar this week with my friend Susu Wong of the marketing agency Tomo 360. And it was fantastic. I'm going to put I have the replay up on my YouTube channel. I'm going to put the replay up on my blog and embed it into my blog so everyone can see it. It's how to adapt your social media marketing strategy in 2021. And I'm also planning a free webinar next week, even though I know next week is kind of touch and go, right? But next week, the show must go on. I'm planning a new free webinar, something around social media strategy in sensitive times, or social media strategy when the world has gone mad, which it has. Alberta, Canada, Austin, Texas, Tucson, Arizona. So nice and warm here. It's not cold today. It's like a heat wave here. It's like 45, I think. It's really nice. Thomaston, Maine, Pope Memorial Humane Society. I love Maine. I can't wait to get back to actually being able to go anywhere out of state, but Maine is one of my favorite states. Yay. Oh, Iowa. Look at everyone. I'm so excited. So we always have such a great crowd on these Facebook Lives. So even though I'm doing this one by myself, I would love interaction. I would love questions. Next week, just to give you a little sneak preview, we have 2 special guests. I have Crystal Cherry of the Board Pro. She is phenomenal, and she's going to talk about how to convince your board to buy into digital fundraising. And Taylor Shanklin, who is my girl, Like, I love her so much, of Firefly Partners. And she's going to join Crystal talking about board engagement and digital fundraising. It's going to be really, really fantastic. Hartford, Connecticut, Seattle, Washington, Omaha, Nebraska in a blizzard. Wow, we haven't really gotten that much snow. Saratoga Springs, York, Pennsylvania, Harrisburg Symphony. Oh, I love it. I can't wait till we can go back. So without further ado, let's just dive in. I don't have a guest to introduce, and a lot of you probably know me. I'm Julia Campbell, and thank you for coming to my Facebook Live today. One more announcement is I am opening up Social Media for Social Good Academy next week. So I'm opening up enrollments next week. And you know what? I'm just going to do it. The world might end. Democracy as we know it might end. I really hope the FBI is prepared for next week. I don't know, but I'm still going to do it. So if you get on the early interest list, you're going to get a discount coupon. I just put that in the chat. So yeah, if you want to learn more about that, you can email me, get on the early interest list. You'll hear a lot about it next week. So what are we talking about today? Today we're going to go through some of my digital marketing resolutions for 2021. Now, we're obviously bidding a not so fond farewell to 2020. I really hope that before you made your resolutions, you were able to rest and reflect and rejuvenate, or just reflect on what happened last year. And don't be so hard on yourselves. Some of you slayed your goals and 10x'd your goals. And I have clients that had a great year. And then I have others that had a completely horrible year and everywhere in between. So I think we have to understand, there are things beyond our control. I want you to just take some time. I don't think it's too late to do resolutions, by the way. It's January 15th, but I still haven't even put up my 2021 calendar yet. I mean, let's just give ourselves a break, right? Things are going to move a little slowly this year. The first resolution, it's more like mindset shifts, I think, than resolutions. But the first one is, let's shift our mindset around the way that we think digital marketing should work. Because oftentimes we want to use digital marketing platforms to say how interesting we are, how great we are, how special we are, and all the great things that we're doing. And we want to use them sort of as a one-way, as a billboard, as a bullhorn. And we need to completely think of marketing as building a community of people that would miss us when we were gone. So it's not just talking and talking and talking. It's actually more listening, more than we talk. And then, oh, hi, Amy. I was in the academy, and at least once a week, but usually more, I'm looking at the material and applying it to my job. Thank you, Amy. You were my best cheerleader. I absolutely love it. Thank you so much. I love it. Thank you, Amy. Okay. And I don't pay her, shockingly. No, she just really is one of my star students. All right. Number 2. Can we get rid of the phrase cut through the clutter? Honestly, we have to stop cutting through the clutter, because first of all, you can't, because there is too much clutter and too much noise and too much going on. So the idea of cutting through the clutter, what it sounds to me is just simply telling people you exist and interrupting me when I'm not searching for your information or when I don't want to hear from you necessarily. So I see cutting through the clutter as just a way of saying, I'm going to be interrupting you a bunch of times, grabbing attention, stealing attention, manipulating people. That's kind of how I see it. I know that that's not probably the way that you use it. I know that we live in a digitally driven, distracted world, and there's a lot coming at us. But I think the myth of attention spans shrinking needs to be addressed. So we will pay attention to something if it's interesting to us. I binge watched The Home Edit on Netflix. Well, I don't really get a chance to binge watch anything, but I watched like 2 hours of it in a row, which was shocking. We will pay attention to things that are of interest to us and of value to us. So I'm not saying you need to make a Netflix show, But if you give your community of people, the people that you know and love you, or the people that you want to attract, if you give them a reason to pay attention, they will. So we can't just expect to throw money at this problem and, more Facebook ads are going to cut through the clutter. That's not true. Number 3, I want us to resolve to spend the majority of our year on community building rather than sending out promotions. So I know we need to create a promotions calendar, but I always teach in the academy the 80-20 rule of social media. And I think it should maybe even be 90%, 10%. The vast majority of content that you share needs to be informative, entertaining, educational, useful, helpful. You need to answer the question, what's in it for me, for your audience, not just what's in it for you, because we can't look at our audience as ATMs. I was going to say ATM machines, but I get corrected all the time, or just simply transactional. We need to really look at them as a community of people. So I don't mean saying your donors are your partners and they're equally invested and they should be given equal weight as like a program officer. I just mean if we continually treat people like the only time we want to talk to them is when they can give us money, they're going to tune us out, especially younger generations. The other point that I want to make is that trust is endangered. So Seth Godin wrote an entire blog about how trust is endangered. And we know that. We know that probably better than maybe even people dealing with polarizing topics or politicians. We know that trust is endangered because there's so many myths and misconceptions about the people that we serve, the communities that we work in, the work that we do. I see it as our job to lift the veil a little bit. I see it as our job to really tell people the hard stories and the reality on the ground. And I think it's a responsibility, and I think it's actually a moral obligation. So on Dennis Fishman's blog, I will link to the show notes. I've just been listening to many podcasts, so I'm just going to keep saying show notes, and I don't even have show notes. Oh, people love the home edit. I'm obsessed with the home edit, completely obsessed with it. We've done, I haven't done my books yet in rainbow order. I need to do that, but we've done the medicine cabinets. We've done a couple of closets. We've done under the sinks. We're just kind of taking it slow. Arts and crafts, the toy room. And I don't have a gigantic pantry like they normally do in the home edit, but I think I could do some cupboards. Their books are really great. I asked for their books for Christmas. And actually, that's my goal for 2021, is to develop a marketing method for nonprofits, kind of like the home edit method. So there's more to come on that. They inspired me a lot. I just think that they're phenomenal humans. I love them. All right, let's keep going. Number 4, let's commit to showing up every single week for our supporters in our community, even when we don't really want to. So I made a commitment when I started my business that I was going to blog every single week or do a Facebook Live every single week. Sometimes I do both, and that's great. The key is showing up and showing what you're made of and showing people that you're there for them and you're listening, you're authentic, you're transparent, even when you don't want anything from them. So this is where persistence comes in. There's no shortcuts to building an online audience. If you simply post a blog once every 2 months or send an email communication once every 4 months, and then you're not getting the results that you want, it's because of lack of consistency. It's also because people, they need you to show up pretty frequently. And some things are going to fall flat and some things are going to be hits, and there's going to be hits and misses, and that's completely normal. But people need you, and they need your expertise, and they need what you have to say and what you have to share with the world. They do. If I care about your organization, even if it's the tiniest, most rarest disease, even if it's the smallest possible audience, actually some of those audiences can be incredibly passionate and very dedicated. You need to show up for them once a week. I don't care if it's a 5-minute video from the executive director's desk. This is what happened this week. Here's a milestone that we hit. This is what happened this week. Here's a challenge we had. This is what happened this week. Wow, the news has been absolutely insane. What are we all feeling? What are we going to do about it? Just showing up. So we need to consistently show up either in our business or in our nonprofit week after week after week, because this helps build trust. This helps build that trust and credibility. And this helps show people that you're walking the walk, right? So I have found in my experience, the places where I consistently donate year after year after year, I tend to be a monthly donor because I just think it's more effective, and I know how nonprofits need to budget, and I'd rather give $10, $20 a month than a big chunk of change at the end of the year. They are the organizations that I consistently see either on social media or in my inbox telling me what's going on, not just asking me for things. And there's so much going on. And I feel like while the pandemic clearly has decimated a lot of our industry and a lot of our ability to do our work, we need to talk about that. So we need to talk about the realities on the ground. Even if you are at a symphony or a museum and you don't have programming every week, what's going on? What's the latest? You're following the guidelines. What does that mean? What virtual programming are you offering? All right. So number 5, we need to earn the right to ask for participation, advocacy, and money. So we have to stop thinking that we are entitled to any of these things. Now, you could look at an organization that seemingly out of the blue got a ton of Facebook likes or a ton of donations or a ton of attention. It's probably because they have a celebrity behind them with a built-in audience, or they've been in the news, or the issue has been in the news all the time. So unless you have a person with a built-in audience of millions of people, or unless you're being mentioned in the news frequently, or the issue you're dealing with, the problem you're solving is in the news all the time, you can't expect just random strangers out of the blue to be paying attention. So we have just our expectations for what's possible, or not what's possible, our expectations for digital marketing need really to be, on par with what's going on. Okay, let's see. So, there's so many comments. I'm also thinking about show notes a little too much. I just want to say it all that I just listen to podcasts all the time. I absolutely adore them. Melissa says, that's what we found with our audience, which is pretty niche. Generally, we have excellent engagement because our small, mighty army is really into snakes. Melissa, I want to see these snakes. Okay. So I'm not the world's number one fan of snakes, but I think they're very cool. And I think oh my gosh, there's so much content. There's so much content with snakes, but I want to come to your snake sanctuary and see the snakes. I do. And I want to bring my son and daughter because they love snakes. But I feel that's exactly right. So I remember I worked with an organization that was into bats. Now, you might hate bats. You might actually kind of like me. I love bats. I love the thought of bats. I like them eating mosquitoes and being really cool and doing whatever they do. But I don't want to see a bat. I don't want to hold a bat, right? I don't want to. But people that are into bats are super into bats. And they attract more people that are into bats. So I love that example because if people are into snakes, they're super into snakes. I would be willing to bet they get tattoos. They have conventions. There's a whole thing. There's a Harley Davidson cult of things going on around snakes. So play into that. Talk to them. And then don't worry about people that hate snakes. Although you might want to bring the people on the fence on over. But don't worry about the people that hate snakes because they're not for you. All right, number 6, let's advocate for our work. And I don't mean our nonprofit work. I mean our work as marketers, our work as digital fundraisers. Let's stop pretending that our work doesn't matter, and let's not be wallflowers. Let's show our editorial calendars at staff meetings. Let's talk about the hard work of being a social media manager. I don't know or care. Anything is polarizing, and every single client I have has trolls and people that are being horrible and sending horrible DMs and writing terrible comments. That is just par for the course these days, and I don't have a solution to that. But what I want you to know is I want you to advocate for your work. And people still think that it's, Instagram is just posting what you had for lunch. When I can't even name the last time I posted what I had for lunch. People still have all of these myths and misconceptions around social media, especially that it's super easy, doesn't require any forethought, and it's just a bunch of kids tweeting about their breakfast or something. I don't know. Because we know the hard work, but let's tell people, let's advocate, let's, at staff meetings, share your editorial calendar for the year. Share your top 5 Facebook posts for the week, or, share this, because the more that the staff and the volunteers or your executive director, your board, the more people that truly start to understand the nature of the work, the more they're going to buy in, and then the more helpful they're going to be when you need their help getting content. Okay, number 7. This one is next to impossible for me, but it's definitely on my list of things to work on this year. Let's decrease the amount we fret and worry, at least about things beyond our control. So we are in a global pandemic. We have threats to democracy. We have potential violence on January 20th across the nation. There are so many things to fret and worry about. And I appreciate them and I understand them, and trust me, I lose sleep over them. I try to follow the Stephen Covey model that I really like, the circle of concern and the circle of influence. So the circle of concern encompasses all the things that we care about from our personal concerns, which is like health, career, relationships, etc., and our global concerns, social justice, racism, white supremacy, pandemic, you name it, recession. But the circle of influence includes the things we have the power to affect, and it's like a smaller circle within the circle. And I have been really trying to focus a lot of my energy on the circle of influence, because you can't, it's just exhausting to try to take your mental energy and focus all on the circle of concern. So that's not perfect. I'm not a licensed mental health professional, but this is what I try to do. All right. So what's number 8? Caroline says, I would just like to take a moment to acknowledge how awesome every single item on your wall behind you is. Well, thank you. Hold on. Let me show you. I got to duck my head down because you can't even see Serena Williams, Issa Rae, Lady Gaga, Wonder Woman, Courtney Love. I don't even know who you can't see. Yes, I spend a lot of time on this wall and I'm obsessed with it and I love it. So thank you. Thanks, Caroline. I hope you can see that. Oh, and don't let the bastards grind you down. That's a sign. Oh, and then I just want to show this because this is pretty incredible. I don't know if you can see this. This is all the winners of RuPaul's Drag Race as the Last Supper. It's like the best thing I've ever received in my life. Okay. And my Leslie Knope bobblehead. Oh yeah, you can see that. Okay. Thank you. I love it. All right, let's keep going because we're on a roll here. So number 8, let's agree to stop using the word busy. Now, yes, we're busy. we're busy, but we need to stop thinking of busy as a badge of honor. And Kishana Palmer wrote an Instagram post that I wish I'd looked up before today because I don't want to mince her words. It was something like, I realized I don't need to be at every table. And I also realized that some tables are not worthy of me. It was like a completely game-changing moment for me. So if you don't follow Kishana Palmer on Instagram, she's at instagram.com/funddiva. Phenomenal, amazing. But that quote really, really stuck with me. I don't need to be at every table, and not every table is worthy of me. So we need to stop this cult of busy, this cult of we have to wake up at 4 a.m., do 2 hours of work, then exercise, then make breakfast for everyone, then do all the laundry, and then work again. I don't know. And I know that it's really hard right now because our schedules are not in any way what they used to be. I think of the days when everyone would be out of my house by 8 a.m. Like both kids, my husband, and I would just have my coffee and I would start my day, and it would kind of be bliss. But then of course there are drawbacks. My husband commuted, wouldn't come home until 7 or 8 p.m. So I try to be grateful for the new schedule and embrace the things that I love about the new schedule and just try not to get too focused on being busy. I also just think, the whole thing about Shakespeare writing King Lear during the plague or whatever it was that people are saying on Twitter, that's dumb. Let's not say that. Let's not fetishize busy. Let's fetishize being efficient and effective and stripping away and streamlining. That's what we need to be fetishizing. All right, number 9. Let's be more transparent and accessible on digital channels. So this means enabling comments, answering direct messages, not having your email sent to info at whatever. Or the worst thing is when I get an email newsletter and I want to reply and then it goes to no reply at something. We can't continue in this way, especially younger generations. They expect responses. They expect transparency. They expect accessibility. That doesn't mean you have to be accessible 24/7. I worked with a suicide prevention organization, and on all their social media channels, they say, this channel is not monitored 24/7, call 911 or they give you the hotline to call. That's fine. I don't mean you have to monitor everything at 3 a.m. But I do see a lot of this when I do my social media audits for clients. I'll go through months of posts and people will be asking questions or they'll be saying something nice and there's no response. There's not a like, there's not a comment from the organization. And that just makes me think, are you just automating everything? Is there just a bot doing your social media? I don't understand. Social media, if you open the can of worms, it's a two-way conversation. So I worked with a local mayor that I will not name his name. We don't have a mayor where I live. We have selectmen, but whatever. And he asked me, he said, hey, so can I just post on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and just turn off the comments and the direct messaging? And I said, no, you could write a blog and turn off the comments, or you could post on a web page and turn off the comments. I said, but if you open this can of worms, even if you're sending out an email or a blog, you do need to be responsive. So I have a lot of information about how to write a social media policy that's going to protect you. It's all on my blog. I have a lot of information how to deal with haters and negative comments. So I'm not going to delve into that now. I do have blog posts about that I can post in the comments of this Facebook Live. Natalie says, are you spying on me? That is my exact schedule. I love it. Oh, hey, Kat. Yay. I love Kat from Giving Tuesday. Talk about busy. Oh, man. You're super busy. Thank you for coming today. Melissa says, I love getting replies to our email newsletters. It means someone actually read them. So I get replies all the time. Almost half the time to my email newsletter, people will say, I don't know if you're ever going to read this. I don't know if you even see this. I don't know if you even check these. And I think, wow, like this is what we're conditioned to think, to respond to an email newsletter and have it go into some void or have it go into some marketing, I don't know, agency hole. I don't know. I just want all of you to know I respond to every single email that I get that is a response because people take the time. It's like Melissa said, people are taking the time to actually write me their thoughts and ask a question. And I think it's amazing. Kathleen, is the person who runs Giving Tuesday's social media channels, the thing that breaks my heart the absolute most is finding comments on other nonprofit posts that say, hey, I want to donate or get involved. How do I do it with no response from the organization? Oh my, that would break my heart. The worst part is just how often this happens. We're talking dozens a week that I come across. Absolutely. Yes. Well, we're not even going to get into being more responsive to our actual donors. But my whole point with this particular resolution is if you open the digital can of worms, if you have a website, if you have any kind of public facing content, you need to take the good, you take the bad, right? You need to be willing to respond. You can do this in an organized way with a policy, an internal and external policy. I'll link to the blog post. I literally almost said show notes again. I'll link to the blog post. And you can do this with a policy on how you're going to handle negative comments. And Kathleen, I think that the reason why people don't monitor the comments is because they just either are traumatized from a past life where they were getting a lot of negative comments, or they have this fear of negative comments. And 99.9% of the time, that is not what I see on social media, on nonprofit pages. Yes, if it's a polarizing topic, right? If it's Planned Parenthood, if it's unfortunately, LGBTQIA topics, you are going to get people being, pretty horrible, just horrible. I don't know what other word to say. Provocative and trolling. But I think that those open up opportunities to take conversations offline. And if you have a policy, you can just delete them and move on. But the key is to have a policy for how you're going to deal with it. But you have to deal with it. I can't even imagine someone saying, how can I donate? And no one responding. That makes me sad. Okay. So we're at the end. I want to take any questions that you have, any comments. I love seeing the conversation. My last resolution for you is to focus on collaboration instead of competition. So I believe donor fatigue is a myth. As we saw, actually Giving Tuesday is a fantastic example. I think that donors are fatigued by very poor communication and by organizations that don't care about them unless they're asking for money. So donor fatigue is a myth. There is enough money and enough attention and enough time to go around, okay? We need to collaborate. What I think that other people, like businesses, do really well, and even consultants like me, we just know where our audience is and we collaborate with people to get in front of our audience. So think about look at what happened in the pandemic when all of the museums and the aquariums shut down. They had these Twitter challenges where they would talk to each other. I'm just thinking of the one #creepiest object on Twitter where all the museums competed to see who had the creepiest object in their collection. So we have to focus on collaboration, lifting each other up. So I'm going to actually link to this post from Vu of Nonprofit AF, where he says, Can we please stop saying there's only so much funding to go around? I mean, it really is not true. It's just not true. So I think that we need to get off that imposter syndrome mindset, but we also need to understand that there are people in our community we can collaborate with. There are really creative things that we can do, not just with businesses, but with other organizations, other partners in our ecosystem. And I think that, you know me, I'm just like, I'm an optimist. I am. It's funny. My husband is so cynical and I am just so optimistic. No matter what has happened in the last 4 years, or even, I worked on the Clinton Gore campaign in high school, I just think of how much has happened, but I still remain eternally optimistic about the inherent good in people and the inherent good in our world. I really, really do. All right, let's see what we are saying in the chat. I love that people have written to me. Thank you. Carolyn, this is great, Julia. I'm so glad I caught your live. Oh, keep up the amazing work. I see the same thing on schools. I'm on the school committee. I will talk to this. Schools must be responsive to their communities. Social media can be a positive binding source for bringing students, families, educators, and community together. Oh, I know. So that's actually a very good example. Being on the school committee has completely opened my eyes to the barriers of communication and the challenges of honest and open communication. Because if I respond as a school committee member, I don't want people thinking I'm speaking on behalf of the whole school committee. But if nobody responds and the email just goes into a black hole, or the Facebook post just goes into a black hole, people think we have something to hide. People think we're doing nefarious things behind the scenes. So I've been pushing for more communication, more transparency, and just more open-ended communication. It has to happen. People expect it. People want it. They don't just want a weekly newsletter that says, are we going hybrid or remote? They want to know what's going on, especially with such an emotional issue like schools and children. So I just think the answer to everything is be more open, be more responsive. You do have to have kind of a backbone of steel, right, to deal with a lot of the comments and a lot of the emails and a lot of the criticism. But that's why you get into public service. And I think for a lot of us, that's why we get into nonprofits. We want to solve this problem. We know it's imperfect. We believe in progress and not perfection. And I think that's completely appropriate. And Kathleen, yay, I wish I could see your face too. Thank you. You're a pissed off optimist like me. Yeah, I'm just, I'm an optimist, but feeling a little beaten down some days, but there's just so much going on. Well, thank you all for coming. We're at the 38-minute point. This is one of my longer ones. I do want you to know I will be back next week. Crystal Cherry and Taylor Shanklin with a mini training, how to convince your board to invest, not necessarily invest, to buy into digital fundraising. If you're interested in the Social Media for Social Good Academy, Amy Tippett is my best cheerleader. She's in the comments. But I encourage you to reach out to me. The doors are going to open next week. They'll be open. Just enrollment will be open for 2 weeks. This is the only time I'm going to run it live this year. So I'm just going to run it once live this year. We're going to see how it goes. And I hope to get a really great group in there. And I'm not seeing your faces, but I love seeing your names. I love seeing your little faces in the little circles. I love having you with me in my community. And I just wish you a really happy Friday. Have a nice weekend. Be safe, be healthy, take care of yourself, take a walk, whatever it is you need to do, except in Omaha, Nebraska, the blizzard, right? But even in the blizzard, it can be fun. So if you need anything, you can always email me, find me on my website, DM me on Facebook. I'll get back to you. All right. Take care of yourselves, everyone. I will talk to you hopefully next